If you're a coach or service provider and you've been doubling your efforts, tweaking your offers, or burning out trying to figure out what is the best strategy, but you still feel unsure of how to get to that next level of serving more clients, increasing your revenue, this video is for you. Last video, we talked about a few practical business-based approaches that we could use to actually increase the capacity that we have to hold more clients in our business. And in this video, we're going to be talking about some more in-depth approaches that you can be using to avoid nervous system overcompensation. Now, what is that? That's when we do too much because we don't feel safe to do less. Hustling has always worked. You're probably highly competent. You've probably been really good at things your whole life if you work hard, and you're afraid to let go. You're afraid to try something different, to let go of the hustle, even though it's hurting you and it's hurting your body, because you're afraid that if you do, it will all crumble underneath you. So a lot of times this comes from a faulty belief or modeling that more growth requires more output, which can be true, but it has its consequences. And instead, we're going to talk about nervous system regulation, about building an actual secure base in your body, in your nervous system, to build that business from. I'm not going to necessarily teach you breathwork exercises or movement-based exercises, although those are really helpful and I do them with my clients. If you'd like a video on those, please let me know below by leaving a comment. I can look into doing that. For today, I want to go right to the heart of the issue and talk about the deeper patterns running the show behind the scenes in your business, because these are the real reason why you need to do box breathing so often or take a salt bath so often. And if you can actually fix these two foundational issues, you won't feel like you need to throw the whole kitchen sink of every single one of your nervous system regulation tools at your business constantly or when you're launching, because you're actually more stable and secure from the foundational level, and you don't need to put a bunch of fixes and a bunch of band-aids on it. So fix these following two issues that I'll be walking you through today, and you won't feel like you're patching together your nervous system like you're fixing an old car. Number one, I started out as a relationship coach. So I helped people who had insecure attachment, whether anxious attachment or avoidant attachment, become more securely attached so that they could be in relationship with the right kind of people, with a soulmate level connection. And how many times have you heard soulmate clients? It's a similar concept. So if you are showing up to your business and you're feeling anxious or insecure, or if you're feeling avoidant, that's going to take so much bandwidth from you. One of the biggest things you can do to actually have more energy from your business is to work on your attachment style. So if you recall from our first video about allostasis, a big piece of that operating system in our body is predicting what's going to happen. And our body will sort of pull energy reserves based on predictable outcomes. So if you're running from anxiety or you're running from avoidance, then your body's predicting, oh, something bad's going to happen. Oh, they're going to hate me. They're going to hate this program. Oh, they're going to cancel. These sales aren't going to work. And that's part of what's actually leading to that overwhelm. That's part of what's pushing you into an allostatic load where you're just taking from your reserves and it's not sustainable. So we need to become more secure in how we feel as a service provider and as a coach, because if we're always anticipating something terrible going wrong, then there's no way our business is going to be sustainable. So how do you know if you're anxious and avoidant in your business? Well, you might be anxious in your business if some of the things I mentioned, you're always worried about your clients not liking you, not liking the program. You might feel anxious at the thought of being more visible on social media. You might be afraid of your clients being like a little out there and a little hard to handle and coming after you. On the avoidance side, you might be feeling like you don't need social media at all. Oh, I don't need that. I don't want that. You might be relieved when someone is a no-show to a sales call, even though you need more sales. And you might be finding yourself just distracted and scrolling when you get on the app instead of getting on and creating your own information, your own post, your own content, and finding clients that way. Now, I want to be clear here, although, common lore, common conversation talks like a person is anxious or is avoidant. Actually, most of us are a little bit of both, depending on the circumstance. And so you might see both of these showing up in your business. But the path to resolving them is the same, and that is to become more secure. Number two, and this one's even deeper, is to identify your complexes. Something that I've been studying for a while, although I am by no means an expert in, is Carl Jung, the psychologist. And I really like the way that he talks about the human psyche and the way he talks about the way we show up in our relationships, the way we show up in our life, the way we show up in whatever, including our business in this case, as being driven either from our true self or from complexes. Now, I'm going to be massively oversimplifying for the purpose of teaching. If you want to learn more about Carl Jung, there's a wonderful array of so much literature out there because he's such a big name in the field. I encourage you to dive in. It's really fun. But basically, you can think of a complex as an adaptive strategy that we've developed that shows up to run the show. Now, this can happen for a number of reasons. It can happen from trauma. It can happen just from the structure of the life that we've lived. For example, an inner child that became parentified too soon, that had to show up into adult responsibilities too soon because their caregivers were neglectful or emotionally immature. If you've done parts work is another way of talking about some of this. I would say that Carl Jung's work about complexes is a broader umbrella, and parts work is underneath that, one part of that, but it's a similar concept. This can show up as a perfectionist who's a little bit superior or rises above the fray, who always wants to get it right and never wants to fail. This can also come with having to replace love in our life with praise because we didn't get enough love growing up. These 1000% show up in business. Your parentified child means that you can't fully show up with authority in your business because you're terrified of making that mistake. And so you miss opportunities, you don't post, you don't take up the space that would lead people to say, oh, this person is the expert, I need to work with them. The perfectionist can keep us stuck because it holds us back from taking risks, from trying something new, from starting a social media account, from hopping on TikTok, from going on a podcast, from reaching out, from declaring that we're an expert, because it requires that we be in the messy middle. It requires that we be not good at it for a while. We need to learn how to do something new, and that means we have to kind of be bad at it. That's the foundation of any new skill. And if our perfectionist is running the show, we won't ever do those things because we think we need to do it perfectly right out of the gate. And what we know over and over again from all sorts of studies on success is that the people who are successful are the people who show up over and over and over and over and over and over again, allowing themselves to be bad at it, to be messy at it, to learn from their mistakes. And so a perfectionist is a great example of a complex that's running the show, and it will keep you from actually being successful. Now we can see how this perfectionist is trying to help you be successful. It's telling you, let's do this really right. But if we're unaware that this is the part that is showing up in our business, it will keep us from growing the way that we really want to. So if you're here, you're doing deep work, maybe you're even doing nervous system healing, trauma work, you know what I'm talking about. When I started doing deep work around this, so nervous system work, yes, but also some of these deeper parts work and pieces, this is where things really shifted for me. So I came into this field wanting to help people like many of you because it was something that I really needed and didn't have at crucial points in my life. And once I found these pieces on my journey and I could find the right coaches and the right support to hold me through transforming this, that is what really enabled me to have the energy to show up for my business. Because an inner child running a business is not going to cut it. That little tiny part is a child part inside, and they can't run a whole business. They're going to get crushed under the weight of all of that responsibility. And so we need to work on our complexes in order to fully show up as a service provider with heart, as an entrepreneur who can run this deep business. Some other common ways this may show up for you are a savior complex, where you really want to just help everybody. This can lead to the downfall of your business if you're not careful, because clients will put you on a pedestal, but they are ultimately responsible for their progress. We want to make sure we're giving the client the permission and capacity and belief that they can do it, that we're not doing it for them. So if we put ourselves in a savior position, we're going to absolutely find people who knock us off that pedestal that they've put us on. Perfectionist, I already mentioned, gave you some examples, but that's a really big one that holds people back because it doesn't allow you to do what you need to do and be messy and bad at something before you're good at something, so that you can just get down the road in creating the thing that you need to create in your business. A high level of competence. Sometimes this is called a superiority complex. It's like has such a nasty little name, but we're very highly competent. Maybe we have that parentified inner child. We're really, really good at things. It's a slightly different flavor from perfectionist, but it can actually lead to us having kind of a facade when we're relating to people instead of a human to human connection. And we're not going to build a business very well if we're not building relationships with people, if we're kind of always up here and putting a mask on in order to keep ourselves safe and keep people at a distance. Another one that I named myself, I don't know what other people would call this, the overburdened victim. And this is in no way meant to be victim blaming or shaming. I myself have worked through a lot of victim complexes over the years because I needed to, but this often looks like I'm trying everything and it's not working. Well, I've done that and it's not working. And it's so frustrating to be in this position. So if this is you, I feel you, and it's so possible to get out of this. What this particular complex can lead to is we're shutting down. We're cutting off all possibility of trying something new. The overburdened victim often goes with the perfectionist or with the highly competent part because we feel like we are competent, we are good. We need to protect at all costs the feelings of being good at things, being highly competent, doing a great job, doing it the best, being successful. When it doesn't work, then we kind of feel like a victim of circumstance. Well, why isn't it working? I don't understand. I'm doing all the things. A lot of times these emotional responses, if you're feeling it as I'm talking about it, like in your stomach or your chest, and you feel like I'm talking to you, this is a sign these complexes are in there somewhere. And again, speaking from one person who has had them to another, I feel you so much, and it's absolutely okay and more than okay to be looking at these. They will show up in our business and they will keep us from trying the thing that is next in order to be successful. One thing I've learned over the 8 years that I've been in business is that we need to try things over and over again. We need to test and try and fail and try something new and fail and try something new. And the thing is, it's not even really failing. It's just testing. And, oh, that didn't work. I'll try something new. But when we're very emotionally attached to not getting it right the first time or to not looking competent, it makes it really difficult to get there. One of the biggest shifts that I made once I moved out of this was that I was able to show up in a much more neutral way, that it no longer felt like so scary to not be successful the first time, to not look great the first time. And I assure you that trying to look good is keeping clients away and making you look unrelatable. So I really encourage you to take a look at some of these that you feel may be up for you. And if you can transform them, that will make a huge impact on the level of energy you have in your business, your capacity to hold more clients, and your capacity to get clients. One of the key ways we work through these is with our provider blueprint process that we do inside of our provider program. And this is the deepest level of support that you can get around your business, both practical and internal. And so if you know you want to shift some of these, but you aren't sure how to do it or what the right support might be, that's what we created Provider for, and you can go ahead and check that out and apply to join us.